it's a great opportunity for us to learn offense, right? Move the ball, pass, cut. We just can't stand and watch anymore.
When Sophie Cunningham first hit the hardwood, she wasn't just playing ball. She was announcing herself to the world. Gritty, fearless, and loud in all the best ways. But something shifted. The energy, the swagger, the way she shows up, it's evolved. And now, it's not just the basketball heads watching. Everyone's paying attention. Because Sophie didn't just level up, she flipped the whole script. And you won't believe how she did it. See, Sophie Cunningham was never one to ask for a spotlight. She made her own. Whether she was in a packed high school gym in Missouri or on a national stage, Sophie played with a kind of fire that didn't need permission. At Rockbridge, she didn't just dominate. She changed the game. 4 straight state titles. Nearly 2,000 points. McDonald's All-American. She wasn't chasing hype. She was building a legacy. And when she hit college, she took off. At Mitsu, Sophie didn't miss a beat. Starting every single game over 4 years, she became the backbone of the program. Over 2,100 points, elite shooting, and a reputation for diving into the paint like her life depended on it. She wasn't just skilled. She was relentless. That no-nonsense, take-no-prisoners energy made her unmissable. It wasn't just what she scored, it was how she played. So when the Phoenix Mercury picked her 13th overall in 2019, making her Mitsu's highest-ever WNBA draft pick, she wasn't surprised. She was ready. But the league doesn't hand out respect. Sophie had to grind, diving for loose balls, bruising through bodies, and showing up on both ends even when the shots weren't falling. 6 seasons in, she'd earned every bruise and every bucket. But deep down, she felt it, comfort. And for Sophie, comfort equals complacency. Then came the trade. A 4-team shuffle that sent her straight to Indiana. No drama. No hesitation. She packed the fire and walked straight into a new battlefield. The Fever weren't rebuilding. They were reloading. With Caitlin Clark lighting up the scoreboard and Aaliyah Boston anchoring the paint, Sophie didn't just join a team. She joined a movement. Gone were the catch-and-shoot days. Now, every play demanded speed, grit, and voice. And that's exactly what she brought. For Sophie, this wasn't just basketball. It was breath. The first whistle of training camp didn't just signal practice. It unlocked something. She stormed through drills like a woman possessed, and coaches immediately took notice. Her footwork was tighter, her shot quicker, her switches on defense, relentless. But it wasn't just about mechanics, it was mindset. Sophie wasn't playing it safe anymore. She wasn't filling minutes. She was driving the mission. Leaving Phoenix meant letting go of everything familiar. But Indiana gave her something rarer, the chance to reinvent. And from day one, Sophie didn't flinch. She stepped into the chaos of a young, fiery team and made herself essential. She wasn't the poster on the billboard. She was the one holding it up. When the Fever found their groove, it wasn't just Caitlin scoring or Aaliyah's dominance. It was Sophie, the spark buried in the rhythm, pushing it forward with every possession. And then came June 17th. One moment turned Sophie from role player to cult hero. Caitlin Clark took a hit under the basket. Eye contact, elbow, chaos. The arena gasped. Cameras scrambled. But Sophie? She didn't blink. In one motion, she crossed the court and flattened Uhos without hesitation. The crowd went nuclear. The internet caught fire. Officials saw flagrant. Sophie saw loyalty. And for Fever fans, that was the day Sophie Cunningham staked her claim in franchise history. But what most people missed was a message beneath that shove. Sophie wasn't just defending a teammate. She was sending a warning. This wasn't just Caitlin's team. This was a new culture, and Sophie was its enforcer. The scoreboard didn't always show her value. 5.3 points. 4 rebounds. 1.6 steals. But those numbers, they don't measure heart. They don't capture tempo. They don't reflect how every player stood a little taller when Sophie hit the floor. And that's where Sophie truly thrived. Off the bench, into the fire. Most players shrink in that role. Sophie exploded. The second she checked in, the atmosphere changed. The pace quickened. The intensity snapped back. She wasn't killing minutes. She was reviving games. Whether it was a corner three or a full-speed drive through traffic, Sophie delivered what Indiana didn't even know they needed, until it was there. And once she arrived, She didn't look back. What separated Sophie Cunningham wasn't just talent, it was timing. The uncanny ability to flip the switch exactly when her team teetered. A tough stop here, a game swinging and one there. The kind of presence you don't game plan for, because it's not in the scouting report. It's in the soul. And as this Indiana team climbs, one thing is clear. While headlines focus on stars, it's Sophie who's shifting the culture. Quietly, fiercely, and without apology. Sophie didn't just play the game, she elevated it. When Indiana hit walls, she was the one climbing them first. Coaches didn't just praise her hustle, they trusted it. Teammates didn't just follow her lead, they leaned into her edge. Fans may have labeled her a bench spark, but what she became was deeper. Indiana's emotional engine. Not the logo, the fire behind it. And as the season wore on, the narrative changed. It wasn't just about her grit. It was about her value. Some players open with flair, others close like warriors. Sophie did both. But when it mattered most, when the air got thin and the scoreboard got tight, it wasn't her stat line that cut through. It was her voice. Steady, raw, honest. A voice that snapped everyone back into focus. And that's where the real transformation began. Because she didn't just show up, she called out. Called out the inconsistency. Called out the excuses. Called everyone, teammates, coaches, fans, to step up after one brutal loss. The locker room air was thick with frustration. Most would have ducked the MIC. Sophie stepped straight into it. We have good spurts, she said, dead serious. But why aren't we consistent? No sugarcoating, no safe words, just fire. And when she added, we owe the fans, the arena didn't just hear it, they felt it. The fever had just shot 30% from the field. Sophie didn't spin it. She declared it unacceptable. We're never doing that again. I hope. That smirk? Pure accountability. But Sophie doesn't just talk. She delivers. When Caitlin Clark was sidelined during preseason, it was Sophie who stepped up. Calm, cold, clutch. She buried the free throws that sent the game into overtime and helped lock down a gritty 79-74 win. It wasn't pretty. It was personal. That moment turned heads, sure. But it also turned teammates into believers. Kelsey Mitchell didn't hold back. She's a dog. Coach Stephanie White backed it up. She brings toughness, versatility. She's the kind of player you win with. And Sophie? She never let up. After dropping 16 points and 10 rebounds in a hard-fought win over Atlanta, her first double-double of the season, she didn't gloat. She grinned. It's about dang time. Even her humor hold weight. Because Sophie pushes with urgency. When she landed in Indiana in that blockbuster 4-team trade, she didn't play coy. Heck yeah, we're about to go win a championship. It wasn't ego. It was conviction. She saw something in this squad, a spark ready to erupt. From Caitlin Clark's spotlight to Aliyah Boston's paint dominance, this team had tools. But it needed a tone setter. Someone who wasn't afraid to rattle cages and reset expectations. And Sophie was built for that. She's not just a six player, not just a protector. She's a voice that echoes when the room falls silent. She's the standard, the spark, the proof that leadership isn't always loud, but it's always felt. And when the fever finally catch fire, you'll know who lit the match. After a clutch performance against Connecticut, Sophie didn't bask in applause. She lit another fuse. With sweat still on her brow and the game barely in the rearview, she looked straight into the camera and said what most stars wouldn't dare. No more motion offense. 6 syllables that detonated across the WNBA like a truth bomb. No yelling. No theatrics. Just brutal clarity, the kind that shakes locker rooms and forces coaching staffs into emergency meetings. And just like that, the sixth woman became the franchise's mouthpiece. Sophie didn't throw shade. She turned on the floodlights. What had once been passive frustration in the fan base suddenly had a voice. And that voice? It was backed by Caitlin Clark, who reposted the clip with just 4 words, 100% with you. That nod turned a comment into a movement. Kelsey Mitchell co-signed it with a smirk, telling reporters, that's the tone we need. It wasn't rebellion. It was revelation. Players weren't offended. They were relieved. Someone finally broke the spell of forced politeness. Sydney Colson joined in with her signature humor, posting a meme of Sophie mid-MIC drop with the caption, "When the truth gets too real for your AM coffee." Funny, yes, but the respect was real. Fans flocked to X and Reddit threads like it was game day. She said what we've been screaming for weeks. One wrote, another added, she just became the leader we didn't know we had. Media outlets scrambled. ESPN speculated a player-coach rift. Yahoo called it a tactical MIC drop. The Fever weren't just trending, they were boiling. For a team barely getting highlight packages a week ago, Indiana was suddenly must-watch TV. Sophie Cunningham had taken the wheel, not by scoring 40 or dunking in traffic, but by telling the truth when it mattered. Debate shows lit up. Was it reckless or revolutionary? Could it backfire? Should bench players even speak that loud? But the noise only made one thing clearer. Sophie wasn't backing down. And whether fans loved it or hated it, they were finally watching again. The Fever weren't just a team. They were a story. And at the center of that story, the spark, the backbone, the one whose voice cut through the static. Sophie didn't need a C on her jersey to lead. She'd already owned it in grit. No formal title, no press tour, just a bench warrior with a built-in megaphone and a game to back it up. Inside the Fever's walls, her presence shifted things. Players hustled harder, eyes locked in quicker. Sophie's voice wasn't background noise anymore. It was a beat. The emotional tempo setter of a team that had forgotten what fire felt like. From the outside, her Indiana trade looked standard. Veteran role player joins a rising squad. But inside that training facility, it was clear from day one, Sophie came with more than a jump shot. She brought accountability. She brought tension-breaking truth. Diving after dead balls, contesting every loose rebound, snapping at teammates a lock-in, not for the camera, but because she felt it. She wasn't trying to play hero. She was trying to wake them up. And now, everyone's listening. After that monster night in Atlanta, 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 triples, and a block, someone asked her what changed. Her answer? Simple. I bring the energy. I bring the feistiness. I'm a little bit sassy. And that sass? It was a missing ingredient Indiana didn't know it needed. She wasn't just showing up in stat sheets. She was showing up in spirit. When Clark took a shot to the face in that heated June clash against Connecticut, Sophie didn't hesitate. She charged across the floor and shoved the opposing player to the hardwood. Flagrant foul. Ejection. But more importantly, a statement. That wasn't just a teammate defending another. That was a culture check. Sophie Cunningham was laying the blueprint. If you're coming for the Fever, you better brace for the backlash. That moment went viral. But beyond the headlines, it clarified one thing. Sophie's not afraid to get her hands dirty to protect what they are building. When things got rocky mid-season, injuries piling up, pressure mounting, media noise growing louder, Sophie became the anchor. We're circled on everybody's schedule, she told reporters after a frustrating loss to LA. Nobody likes us. All we've got is each other. It was more than a quote. It was a line in the sand. While some players fade when the noise gets loud, Sophie leaned in. Behind the scenes, she admitted her time in Phoenix had grown too comfortable. Indiana was a reset she didn't know she needed. She welcomed the pressure, embraced the challenge, and poured herself into the city, the fans, and the locker room like she'd been waiting her whole career for this moment. Everything she learned from Diana Taurasi, she started passing down to Caitlin Clark, with intention, with purpose, and it didn't go unnoticed. Fever GM Lynn Dunn called her a fierce competitor. Coach Stephanie White trusted her to speak for the team, and the team listened. Sydney Colson put it perfectly. She makes the hard work feel lighter. That's the kind of impact stats can't measure. But the vibe? Unmistakable. Teammates called her a keeper. The team's heartbeat. She didn't just go through the motions at shoot-around. She led them. She called out switches, pulled rookies aside during breaks, kept the tempo sharp even before the tip-off. And when the pressure turned up, her motor never faded. She wasn't trying to shine. She was trying to ignite. Her hustle wasn't just constant. It was contagious. And off the court, her sass matched Indiana's spirit perfectly. After a blowout win, she looked straight into the camera and joked, "These fans are sassy like me." The crowd ate it up. That Midwest grit? Sophie wore it like armor. Over time, her role grew from spark plug to spiritual compass. She became the one teammates leaned on when the lights got hot, the one who never flinched, never folded, and never let the locker room drift. She was a temperature check, the emotional thermostat. And just when you thought Indiana had found their groove, Sophie Cunningham flipped the whole rhythm. Could she be the final spark to redefine what the Fever are becoming? Because make no mistake, what Sophie's evolved into isn't just another role-play arc. It's a second act with teeth, the kind of story that reshapes careers and redefines franchises. Her arrival in Indiana via that unexpected four-team trade? At first, it raised eyebrows. But now, it reads like fate. The Fever weren't just trading for a shooter. They were summoning a storm. Sophie Cunningham wasn't added to a roster. She was injected into the bloodstream. And what followed wasn't polish. It was fire. I bring the feistiness. I'm a little bit sassy, she told reporters that night. And no one questioned it since. But what made Sophie's arrival electric wasn't just a resume. It was a reinvention. She wasn't just corner threes and hard fouls anymore. She was reintroducing herself. Gone was a college kid living off Taco Bell and muscle memory. In her place stood an athlete forged by discipline, daring fashion, and a brutally honest transparency that blurred the line between warrior and icon. The moment the internet took full notice, August 2024. Sophie struts into a game in a colorblind mini dress with tan lines showing and zero apologies. The fit? Picked by her mom, Paula. The result? Viral. Not just a trend, a transformation. Sophie's wardrobe turned into a mood board. Some days, it's soft cowgirl. Other days, it's streetwear laid over a sports bra. And while most athletes keep it polished online, Sophie lets the chaos in. Clumsy dances, gym vlogs, beach days, bloopers mid-laugh. Her 150,000 Instagram followers aren't just liking, they're living with her. But don't get it twisted. Behind the bikini posts and barnyard singing sessions is grind. Off-seasons mean no rest. Sophie resets on her grandparents' 75-acre Primus farm, 30 miles outside Columbia, Missouri. It starts before dawn. Footwork drills, sharp shooting, punishment conditioning with Fever trainer Keith Porter. So intense she jokes about meeting her maker. Then it's trail rides, creek dips, prayers in the barn. No noise, no filters. Just faith, family, and fire. Even her ride stays humble. No Lambos, no flashy imports. Just something strong enough to carry her hustle. The partnerships follow that same philosophy. GMC, Adidas, Quest Nutrition. Not billboards, blueprints. She's not selling fantasy. She's building lifestyle. Gone are the sugar-loaded snacks of her early years. In their place, protein muffins and science-backed brownies that feel like a cheat but perform like fuel. Her entire evolution is intentional. Even her fiercest on-court moment, that infamous June 2025 takedown of JCS Sheldon, wasn't rage. It was purpose. Caitlin Clark got shoved. Sophie responded. Swift, loud, unapologetic, ejected, fined, but crowned. Her jersey? Top-selling in Indiana overnight. Critics called it excessive. Fans called it loyalty. Sophie? She said nothing. Let the footage speak. Because when the fire burns, it's never reckless. It's righteous. Whether hosting her annual Sophie Cunningham Classic for young Midwest athletes or serving meals at Ronald McDonald House, her mission stays rooted in real impact. She doesn't flex, she funds. Doesn't stir drama, shares joy. And the bond with Clark? It's not manufactured. It's sisterhood. Real. Raw. From courtside jokes and matching fits and pre-game prayers, it's a chemistry you can't coach. This isn't just a comeback. It's a full-blown renaissance. A six-woman turned team heartbeat. A spark turned flame. A role player turned cultural force. Sophie Cunningham has rewritten the manual on what it means to lead, with sweat, sass, and unshakable soul. But here's the question. Is this the next evolution of the modern athlete, or a risky lane that could backfire? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Sophie the future or a fireball flying too close to the spotlight? Like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned. This story? Far from over.